Following Rikishi's death, Joe was lost. I mean, 1 second they were fighting, and a second later Rikishi was dead, leaving him with a ghost constantly following him no matter what. I mean, Rikishi hit him with the last embers of his soul, giving Joe his first loss. It was never supposed to end like that. If anything, Rikishi was supposed to take his career to the next stage, but that isn't what happened. Leaving Joe just mentally finished. I mean, this man sees a symbol monkey, which gives him a flashback of Rikishi. And I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. Bro saw this and thought it was the reflection of the guy he killed. But no, seriously, you can tell he's depressed. I mean, Rikishi wasn't just an opponent. He was his rival. He was everything Joe wanted to be. He was Joe's better, the ideal man. Well then, oh my god, is that it? No, it's the guy that Joe imagined.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm gonna kill you.
Also, Joe can hear Rikishi's theme, by the way. Put it simply, even when a man is dead, his legacy will never be gone. That's how good he is. Regret doesn't begin to cut it, because then Joe remembers the words, the blow to the temple, an accident. It doesn't matter, because that was the blow that tumbled him into a lethal spiral, alongside his suicidal weight loss, all for his own pride. Joe's been taken into a stand of sorts, which is essentially a scam. We'll get to that, as Rikishi for Joe was a brother, a father, the best friend you needed, and these two ugly assholes try and scam him, as they're overcharging people for money, and then trying to beat them up after they can't pay. Joe intervening like a vigilante, but he gets folded. Quite brutally, I must add, since currently Joe would rather be dead, lost without the guidance, while Nishi and Danpei are alone in the gym, wondering when Joe will return, since it's been 3 days since he ran away. Rikishi's lone picture of Yoko, that iconic pose is too iconic, man. But Yoko, naturally like everyone else, is feeling the pain of losing Rikishi, since today is the final real mention of him in the ring, a 10-bell salute in honor of him, a sign of respect. But then it's realized that after this, people are just gonna move on to the next fight, next person to die in the ring, because that's the nature of cruelty, and there's no reason to have a boxing gym anymore. But Yoko has a mission, to find the miserable Joe who is getting stalked by paparazzi, who I hope get folded, especially since he's well aware, but he just wants money, perhaps bury his pain away. And surprisingly, the paparazzi aren't as evil as you'd think paparazzi are, taking Joe into a nice club, which literally gives me a stroke because there are so many flashing colors. Why does old anime... My eyes! While I have a heart attack, Yoko is in the club. You were in the club, bottoms up, when I met you.
You're so old.
A shocking surprise, which means it's time for the conversation of dreams. Sick, Yoko calls Joe a little bum without a backbone. And listen guys, I understand this is reverse psychology, but the man basically killed his brother and you're calling him a literal bitch.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Did you expect him to not be fucking livid? Joe telling her to kill herself as he runs away. I mean, he grabs her before she says he has a debt to die in the ring. For Wolf and Rikishi, use those words carefully. A few days later and the gym is still empty. And to best describe how insane Danpei is going, he literally imagines Joe.
Yeah. Joe!
Yeah, that's my fucking face when an apparition whistles and windmills his penis in front of my face. Since the depression is really what this episode is about. Well then, with Joe, and there's a fight. The Yakuza brawling. Well, the Yakuza have a new member. And dear God, is that who I think it is? It's Season 1, Wolf Kanaguchi. Also, before we get to the boxing, what do you guys think they say in the manga?
You gonna let him call you that?
And even when faced with a knife, Wolf is confident, absolutely steamrolling this guy with a freestyle combo. I mean, he had that man seeing stars in the sky, no Lucy either, just pure battering. So Wolf has a new occupation as a Yakuza enforcer, following his disastrous jaw. Before they bring up Joe, Wolf saying he would be fighting for the world title if he had just knocked out Joe. And yes, that is true. Also, if I won the lottery, I would be a millionaire. If I had 100,000 subscribers, I'd be a happy bunny. Point being, 1 centimeter cost Wolf his entire life, and despite my jokes, it really was lucky in positive and negative ways. Well, the Yakuza are back, this time with their very own enforcer, Goramaki Gondo. His Season 1 version looking a little bit colder, but also skinnier. Wolf dodging and cracking with his right, hitting those quick left right, but bang. A massive kick to Wolf's already damaged jaw. And from this point onwards, he is cooked due to all his previous damage, as Gondo tries to literally kill this man with the most vile combo ever, for Joe says, "I'm gonna bum you." You see how shocked he is? Wolf getting carried out as Gondo realizes that this is Joe Yabuki. But then Gondo has to open his mouth about Wolf being a coward who deserves what he had coming to him. Do you hear that? Die, die, die. Joe straight up rearranged that man's gut, and he didn't even take him out for dinner first. This is why Joe is the GOAT. Because for Joe, what Gondo said was an insult. Had that man dead on the grounds while the police arrived. I mean, the Yakuza guys are glazing Joe in the prison, but he doesn't have that much interest. Well, Danpei is informed about Joe's placement, but he doesn't really care about that. He cares more about the fact that Joe's weapons, his hands, gave Gondo internal bleeding, meaning that Joe is still the killer we all know and love. Joe taking out his anger on the walls because he knows deep down he has to move on, even move on from Wolf and Rikishi, getting back with the family who are all glad to have him. I mean, even Nishi can drive a car in the banana bus. The slums are also equally glad to see Joe again. I mean, this guy nearly got ran over, he was that excited. They're treating Joe like the glorious hero he is, their champion. Joe alone on the bridge thinking about what he plans to do now. Sure, he's returned, but is he ever gonna box again? Well, we see Nishi locked in with his training. I mean, this is the skinniest version of Nishi we've ever seen. He's also on a win streak. Crazy. It's also crazy how this slide had more animation than season 3 of One Punch Man. Getting ready for a delicious meal, but instead Joe heads up to the attic to look at the picture. The man who died after giving everything in the ring, realizing that he has to fight so Rikishi can rest in peace, deciding he's gonna come back to the ring as a boxer. Practicing on the puncher bag to show how locked in he is, deciding to showcase his moves in the boxing ring for the journalists. Punches are sharp and it's time for a spar. Against Nishi no less. Nishi instantly throwing a massive overhands before managing to hit Joe in the jaw not once but twice. But Joe ain't about that life, getting up, even though he gets absolutely comboed into oblivion. I mean, he's barely looking like a fight at this point, but Joe tells him, for the love of God, you've got to fight so I don't have to feel this regret. Still eating those punches, but then he gets up, smashing the body again and again and again, bulldozing Nishi's entire stomach so badly he had him in prime back shot position. Joe really could be back. Joe is ready for everyone, but then a question appears in Nishi's mind. At no point during that spar did Joe try and throw a temple blow. I mean, he's observing Joe at every possible moment, asking for another spar just to hope he's wrong. But even when he leaves his face wide open, his body is targeted. Once more, there was no attempt to land a punch on his face. Nishi telling the news while Danpei realizes that Joe just can't punch people in the head. This can't be a coincidence, meaning Joe could be broken. With his comeback match against a guy called Tanoya, whatever the hell his name is. And the match is tonight, Yoko heading there to see the comeback. What the hell is that face? Joe getting ready for his match. His opponent is quite dangerous. Danpei trying to drill that temple blow into Joe's head just to make sure all these theories are just a bad coincidence. All the other head coaches from the boxing gyms are here to watch this fight too, meaning Joe can afford to show off a little bit. Bell ringing, what is that? A distraction allowing a flurry of jabs to connect to Joe's face, having him getting murdered against the ropes, unable to fight back before he weaves with two devious body blows of disrespect. Since Joe knows it's time for a real response, pulverizing that body again and again against the ropes of a relentless assault. I mean, his opponent's organs are getting disintegrated. Joe going in, but will it be the temple? Throwing a massive right just to slam a body blow, pulling his opponent down, meaning that Joe has won his first comeback match. What a cute man. Despite his victory, our boys aren't exactly joyous, because they know that was no thing. Yoko also knows that Joe is quite literally broken, despite his goofy behavior. Also deciding that she wants to run her boxing gym. The depressed partners know that Joe's smile could drop at any moment when he realizes what's going on, but it's time for his next fight. His opponent in panic mode, Joe calmly dispatching the body blows for a quick victory. That wasn't edited, by the way, that was how the fight went. And despite all the joy in the world, you can't be happy when you realize that your boy is not fighting at full power, fighting yet another pain can for his third fight, only targeting the body. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's showing no mercy, making him leave on a stretcher, with a time lapse of 4 more opponents, Joe winning again and again. Well, the men at the boxing club have a plan. Sending more higher ranked boxers to crush Joe before he can grow, even fighting against Tiger Ozaki, who is the bantamweight Japanese champion, which isn't good since he's only doing body blows. Now don't get me wrong guys, Tiger is a bum fraud, but a champion is still a champion, especially with a broken Joe. While Nishi is also having his match, getting another victory by decision. His right hand does some damage, Nishi's hand has a crack, so the only person who can spar him is Danpei. But Nishi is locked in because he wants to help too. But then another boxing coach appears, offering his boxers to fight Joe. Naturally that sounds good on the surface, but there's going to be an ulterior motive. Danpei deciding he's going to tag along. Listen to this cutie guys. Hi there. This guy ended a man's career and killed someone, by the way. Going to the enemy gym. They don't want to fight Joe. Look at his moves. He dances like a pro, circling before he decides to go at his opponent, jabbing towards the face with an utterly insane combo before breaking his stomach. putting him down. Jesus Christ, he killed him without any mercy. His next opponent is quite challenging. By that I mean he can throw punches. But Tiger is arriving, who looks better in Season 1 than Season 2. He's still an ugly bitch though. Also, Joe executed that bum. Joe completely bullies his next opponent before a flying knee elbow and a Tyson Maeda dropkick. I mean, brother, this is not boxing, because Joe has realized that Tiger is watching. Joe calling for a brawl, roasting all these bum asses as they end up fighting the entire boxing gym, carrying Dampe for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Joe Yabuki vs Tiger Ozaki. Looking uglier than ever, I must add. Joe's lethal hands ready to be the champion. The hairline versus the aura. These guys know about the special weakness Joe has, the one that will decide this entire fight, which could have Joe screwed, especially since Tiger has mastered the rage bait tactics. Dampe not telling Joe about the weakness. Dumbass. Joe's massive charge having him hit or air. Tiger easily dealing with all that offense, showing why he's the champion. Since he's doing 0 damage, but a liver blow sends him to the ropes, getting pummeled against him with that unwavering guard. Joe keeping up that pressure, but Tiger doesn't care, as Joe goes for a massive right, but he feints into a gut check. Had that man looking like he needs an ambulance. What a bum! Holding his stomach like a little good boy, I must add. But that wasn't a feint. Joe literally didn't know he did that. And Tiger, being the champion, naturally gets up, so now we've got some danger in the air. Since no matter what Joe does, those body blows cannot break through the solid guard. Before Tiger finally starts responding, that big right had Joe in reset mode with a big left, but Joe continues firing, piling on even more pressure, even though that guard is too tough. After all, it doesn't matter. The bell ringing for the end of our first round, and then our second round begins. Joe still can't do anything as Tiger begins to overpower him. I mean, these are some vile power blows, because Tiger is styling on him with a massive uppercut, sending Joe down. But he's a bum, so I don't care. And even when Joe gets up, it doesn't matter, because he just gets battered. Wild swings with nobody home. Tiger absolutely destroying him with another blow. And this time it's Joe landing on the ropes. Gives us eerie memories, doesn't it? Since that offense was too damaging, Joe's still getting up, proving his strength, but both men prepare for the cross counter. What? The towel is in the air. Dampe is thrown in the towel, unable to watch Joe's sorry performance, meaning Joe has just had his first TKO loss and his second loss in the ring. Joe getting told he lost to Rikishi's ghost. Before it can be explained, Joe is getting another fight with Harajima, who is the #1 ranked boxer in bantamweight, as Joe is told that Rikishi is inside him. No, he's told that Rikishi's ghost is watching him. He can't punch to the head, becoming a boxer who can only target the body. And I understand protecting Joe. I would have thought you'd have told him, right before he fought the champion. And speaking of Tiger, he's here telling Harajima the tactics. And it's working because Joe's offense can't do anything. It's easy to guard body blows. Even if Joe can move freely, he's swinging all over the place. While these two are trying to fight each other, Dampe battering Nishi, by the way, while Joe is actually fighting in the ring. Joe eating punches, unable to respond before a big uppercut sends him down. It's the same rhythm, getting even more pissed off as he hits the air, looking like a moron, catching a right left right to once more have him dead on the mat. Even when he gets up, the offense is dangerous, but bang. A massive right to the jaw had that man on the ground. He managed to get up with Joe ending the round on a high, except there's still paranoia in the air. Joe looks lost out there. Harajima preparing to take him down just to get smacked again with Joe's right. Except Joe stares at Harajima. Joe just vomits. Due to something unexplainable, but we know why he vomited. Noriko begging Dampe to let Joe retire, since he's going to end up taking too much damage. A boxer who can't fight isn't that much of a boxer. Joe also hearing Dampe calling him a little bit of a bum, but Joe decides he just needs to vomit all of Rikishi out his body, even if that means training till death. But it doesn't matter if you train till death. You can train until your body gives out on you, but at the end of the day, he's a boxer. And then these kids murder these guys for insulting Joe's legacy. But no, seriously, Joe literally carries your location on his back and you're calling him a failure? Really? And even when Joe trains, it's like the ghost is watching him. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Imagine.
That was truly cringeworthy.
Even though he was able to destroy that bag. And it turns out that Nishi can sew. Pretty cool. And Joe's going to the Boxing Association for one more fight, meaning if he loses, it's all over. But Yoko goes somewhere, getting to meet a man called Harry Robert. Our Season 2 viewers might recognize him as the second coach of a sex bomb. Since Yoko is extra determined to ensure Joe doesn't die or suffer, but a plane arrives. Carlos.
Oh, over! Oh, senor, senorita! Muchas gracias!
a special surprise for Joe against Nango. Well, who is Carlos Rivera? Well, Carlos Rivera is from Venezuela, a 6th ranked boxer. Now for the season 2 guys, this is not Made in Heaven Carlos, it's more Jujutsu Kaisen Sorcerer Carlos. Well, that's a spoiler for next video.
You pretty girl.
Carlos even flirting with a woman with his majestic look. 34 wins and no losses. The literal GOAT introducing himself to the best fighter, Joe. But obviously he's got the wrong guy. Wink wink. Our fight beginning, Nango instantly landing quick fire jabs and straights, not giving Joe much time to think as he pinballs him all over the place. With those sexually animated blows, taking that body like it's free eats, had Yoko in so much disgust that she doesn't want Carlos to watch this. Even though Carlos can tell Joe is an amazing boxer. But right now he's broken, no longer the messenger from hell. The kid who moved like lightning and pissed thunder now just pisses in the ring. Carlos looks so cute in season 1 by the way. Since Joe is hitting nothing once more, this guy isn't even that good. He just can't throw an actual punch. Managing to graze him with fouls, penalized due to corruption maybe. But it doesn't matter, Joe cracking his face again and again and again and again, making him feel those titanic body blows, as he literally brutalizes him all over the ropes, having his mouth guard in orbit, like a lifeless corpse. But then, oh no, PTSD. Nearly vomiting, also realizing this ref's a bum ass. Joe eating a left-right violent combo, while trying to vomit by the way, before an uppercut sends him down. Unable to get him up, meaning Joe has lost 3 fights in a row. This time it really could be all over for Joe. Yoko telling Carlos it's time, since he's going to be the one fighting Joe at some point. Besides that, I'll talk to you all later.